What's up, everyone? It's Fuzzy. Welcome back to yet another MLB recap. We have a lot to talk about today. Chris Sale, he was throwing hands at coolers after his latest start. Spencer Strider was throwing no-hit inning after no-hit inning. He took a no-no all the way into the 8th inning. The A's and the Angels faced off in one of the craziest games I've ever seen. Joey Gallo went yard versus his former team, the Yankees. And Wander Franco, he channeled his inner David Wright with an insane barehanded catch down the left field line. Remember, everyone, if you're going to any baseball games or concerts anytime soon, save yourself 20 bucks off on SeatGeek using code Fuzzy. And also, we're so close to 450,000 subscribers. Hit that subscribe button. Thank you all so much for your support, and let's get into the games from yesterday. Now, we do have some breaking news. I'm actually having to re-record this part of the video because this just happened. Bryan Reynolds and the Pittsburgh Pirates have agreed to an 8-year, $106.75 million contract extension. I thought that Bryan Reynolds was for sure going to get traded, but then the Pirates, they started off really hot to begin 2023, just like Bryan Reynolds did. The Pirates are currently on a 7-game winning streak. They just extended Bryan Reynolds to an 8-year contract. I have no idea what I just said, but it's all true. That just happened. The Reds and the Rangers. Josh Young had himself a damn day versus Nick Lodolo. That's 1 home run, make it 2 home runs in the first few innings. He has 10 home runs in his first 47 big league games. Cincinnati, they were not going to go down without at least trying to make things stressful for Rangers fans who are watching at home. Spencer Steer roped an RBI triple in the 3rd, and we fast forward to the 8th, where the Texas bullpen is currently imploding. Maybe they can get out of this bases loaded Jim. Okay, well, that's a walk. Oh no, there's another walk. That one ties it up at 6 runs apiece. Texas, they were able to keep it that way, but they were not able to score in the top of the 9th, and there it is. TJ Friedl, he walks it off. He's hitting .313 with 10 RBIs on the year. That's pretty good. If I told you the Boston Red Sox got monster home runs from Tristan Casas and Rafael Devers to make it 4-0 for Chris Sale, you're probably thinking that the Red Sox were able to cruise to an easy victory. Not so fast, because we know that the Orioles offense is very much like Rocky, you know, the movie Rocky, where they get beat up, but they just keep fighting back. Baltimore, they almost shut the door, but Adam Frazier stuck his little cleat in there. He kept it from actually slamming shut, and there's Ramon Urias, who slapped a huge 2-run double in the 4th to bring it within 1, and then there's the tying run. James McCann, he was brought to Baltimore for that exact situation, to rake against lefties. The game was tied going into the 5th when Chris Sale was out there trying to keep it, and unfortunately, Austin Hayes and Jorge Mateo, they teamed up and did their thing. The Baltimore bullpen was lights out. They were led by a guy named Yennier Cano. If I botched that, please let me know in the comments, especially if you're an Orioles fan. He struck out 2 in the save. The Orioles have won 7 in a row, and a fun fact from my friend Camden, who has a channel, Cam23, the Orioles struck out 0 times in yesterday's contest, which is crazy because they faced off against Chris Sale, who actually has the MLB record for strikeouts per 9 for a starting pitcher. So the fact that Baltimore struck out 0 times over 9 innings, that's wild. The Jays and the White Sox, the Blue Jays found themselves in an early hole after Andrew Vaughn doubled in 2 in the 3rd inning, so they're gonna have to show some dog. Whit Merrifield, he cut the deficit in half on that RBI double, and this is just one of those things you'll love to see. Kevin Biggio, I can honestly say I've only said the name Kevin Biggio 2 or 3 times over the last few years, so seeing that 3-run bomb was pretty cool. He had a .370 on base percentage and an almost 120 OPS plus in his first 160 big league games, but a .312 on base percentage and an 85 OPS plus since 2020. Hopefully that home run wakes him up. Chris Bassett, he bared down, almost went 7 shutout, but he did have to leave with some back issues. He had 3 hits and 4 strikeouts on the day. Matt Chapman, he stayed hot with an RBI 2-bagger to score Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and Jordan Romano, he threw a 1-2-3 9th inning for his 8th save of the year. The Jays are now 14-9, which they're actually behind the Orioles in that division, and we'll recap the rest of the standings at the very end, so don't go anywhere. The Rays and the Astros, Taj Bradley got lit up for a 2-run spot in the 1st inning, but that's okay because all the Rays do is rake. Randy Arozarena tripled in Wander Franco, and Harold Ramirez is seriously putting himself in a conversation to be an actual threat, like someone people are actually afraid of time in and time out. He is not a fluke. Over his last 140 games, he's hitting .310. Jeremy Pena, I do want to show this. He broke the tie on his 4th home run of the year. That was no cheapie either. That was at 432 feet, but here come the Rays again. Right after Randy tied it on a sac fly, Josh Lowe used his sprinter speed to beat out that throw with 2 outs, and Tampa Bay, they're back out in front, and they just kept on adding to it. Bethancourt, he brought in 2 more for Taj Bradley. Bradley has 23 strikeouts in his first 15 big league innings. The Rays ended up with 8 runs on the day. They have improved to 14-0, a perfect 14 wins, 0 losses at home to begin the season, which is a new modern record in Major League Baseball. They just keep on getting better and better. Before we move on, I have to show this catch down the left field line from Wander Franco. I mean, this was one of the better catches I have ever seen because it looked like he was going for it with his glove and he was trying to two-hand it, but then his bare hand actually caught the ball. Wander Franco has been a freak all year long, and he's one of the most talented players in baseball, even at a ripe age of what, 22, 23? All right, here we go. The craziest game from yesterday, the Angels and the A's. Jose Suarez, he is earning himself a one-way ticket to China. Obviously, that is a joke, but I saw this meme everywhere last night. He allowed 3 home runs in the first 2 innings. Brent Roker and Jesus Aguilar, they went back-to-back in the first, and Kevin Smith, he finally connected for his first home run of the season, which is huge considering he might have had the worst start of any hitter in professional baseball history to begin their career. Okay, back to the action. Roker and Aguilar went back-to-back again. That's the first time in A's franchise history a pair of teammates went back-to-back twice in the same game. Roker now has 6 home runs and 14 RBIs and 48 at-bats. Now, the only thing is, the A's pitching staff might be the worst in MLB history. I'm gonna roll some clown music as we show the Angels hit parade. I mean, this is just embarrassing. Flat out, absolutely embarrassing. Rookie Zach Neto tied it, and then Brandon Jury, he finished it with a go-ahead RBI single to make it 8-7. So the Angels, they got this game in the bag. There's no way that they walk in the tying run and then of course they did. Roker's plate discipline ties it at 8 runs, and LA, they could not walk it off, so extras we go. There's a 2-run double for rookie Ryan Noda. RBI single from Tony Kemp caps a huge 3-run 10th inning, and the reason why that was a huge 3-run inning is because Brandon Jury, he popped off for his second home run of the night, but Georges Familia, he was able to settle down. He closed it. The Angels, they're back under 500, and they absolutely have to sweep the next 3 games. The fans of Anaheim, they deserve that, because if they don't grab these 3 games, yeah, that's terrible on their part. Now, I do want to show some quotes from Mr. Robert Manfred. He finally spoke out. He basically said that he feels terrible for the fan base, but ultimately he blames the city of Oakland. He said that the A's, the actual franchise, made every effort possible to get a new stadium signed upon, but the city officials were not having it, whereas Las Vegas, they're all but giving John Fisher and the A's a free stadium when you factor in tax breaks and public funding, everything like that. Atlanta faced off against Miami, and Spencer Strider was the story in this one, but hold on a second. I got to talk about the juggernaut Atlanta offense as well. Sean Murphy, he went 430 feet. Sam Hilliard, that 2-run blast went 415. Eddie Rosario has a 2-run blast, 410 feet. And my God, Sam Hilliard cannot be stopped. That baseball went 458 feet. He's hitting 333 with 3 home runs, 4 stolen bases. He would legit be a megastar in baseball if he didn't strike out almost every other at bat. Like, look at his baseball savant page. He is a talented player. Austin Riley, he ruined the streak of 400-foot home runs. That 2-run blast only went 390 feet. Boo! Just kidding. Austin Riley absolutely rakes. But now it's time to talk about Spencer Strider. This kid is quickly becoming one of the nastiest starting pitchers ever. He took a no-no into the 8th inning, and unfortunately, he lost it on a single to Gene Segura. Regardless, Spencer Strider went 8 shutout with 13 punch-outs. He didn't walk anyone. Spencer Strider now has 9 consecutive games with 9 or more strikeouts. That is a new Atlanta Braves record. He passes the Hall of Famer, John Smoltz. I mean, this kid is ridiculously good. The Rockies and the Guardians, Jurickson Profar is reminding people that he still very much exists. No offense to Rockies fans, but when you go to Colorado, it's kind of where you lose a lot of your luster. That's why a lot of people aren't talking about Chris Bryant anymore. But anyways, Jurickson, he homered to right field for his 3rd home run of the year, and Colorado erupted again in the 4th on a single from rookie Ezequiel Tovar, and Profar came up huge with 2 more RBIs. The Rockies ended up with 6 on the night for Austin Gomber, who took advantage of one of the weaker lineups in MLB. Cleveland is 4th last in OPS. They're 2nd to last in home runs, so they don't scare you at all. I'm happy for Austin Gomber, though, because he has been torched ever since he got traded from St. Louis to Colorado. In that all-time bad Nolan Arenado trade, he was kind of the centerpiece. He's been horrific. But 5 innings of shutout baseball, he lowered his ERA to 9.28 on the season, but any sign of improvement is huge. Hope that was the tipping point for him. You can make the case that Spencer Strider was, in fact, not the best pitcher in baseball yesterday, and the other guy, Alex Cobb. Now, we'll talk about him in a second, because usually Jordan Montgomery gets a ton of support from his teammates and his lineup, but Cobb, he was way too nasty for the Cardinals to handle. Both pitchers threw 6 shutout innings, but San Francisco got to Jordan in the 7th. Good to see Mitch Haniger back out there. He broke the stalemate on a sac fly, and then there's the dagger. JD Davis on a 2-0 count. Yeah, that ball is not coming back. They got this guy for free last year from the Mets. He has 13 home runs and a 140 OPS plus in 69 games as a Giant. The Mets are going to be just fine without him, but that was a landslide trade if you ask me. Alex Cobb, he's priming himself up to be a key trade piece candidate at the deadline. He threw a complete game shutout, only needed 109 pitches. He's got a 1.91 ERA on the season. He's probably going to get moved. The Cardinals, they dropped to 9-14 on the season, and honestly, they should be eyeing a guy like Alex Cobb, or maybe even this next guy. Matthew Boyd carved up the Brewers yesterday. He gave up a few home runs, but he's going to be a free agent after this season, and I expect both him and Alex Cobb to get moved at the deadline. Now, he did get some run support from Nick Maton, who popped off for a 3-run home run in the third. Matthew Boyd, he's going to be a guy that gives up a run or two, but he had 8 strikeouts to only 1 walk in 5 innings. That's some nasty stuff. He has a 3.65 ERA over his last 111 innings. The bullpen for Detroit was otherworldly, throwing 4 no-hit innings to close this one out. Closer Alex Lane is a problem. He strikes out 2 in his second save of the year, and since the beginning of 2022, he has an almost 11.5 strikeouts per 9, and he's top 10% in missing barrels. Alex Lane is really good. Minnesota versus New York. We had a few former Yankees having themselves a fun day at the office against their old squad, but first, I gotta show Jorge Polanco. He singles in 2 in the 3rd inning. Now, skipping to the 4th, Joey Gallo hit a prodigious home run. My friend hit that baseball 435 feet, his 6th home run, and just 37 at-bats. He has a 208 OPS plus. Bearded Joey Gallo is just a different dude, and honestly, there needs to be a full scientific study on brains before and after having a stint with the Yankees, because Joey Gallo was great before the Yankees, terrible when he was on the Yankees, and now he's back to being pretty good. Same for Sonny Gray. Sonny Gray had a 4.9 ERA with the Yankees back in 2018. Yesterday, we saw peak Sonny Gray. He had 7 shutout innings, and it actually looked borderline easy. The dichotomy between New York and the way that their fans treat their players and everywhere else, I mean, again, there has to be a full-blown study on this. Like, the added pressure, 1, you're playing for the Yankees, and 2, you're playing in front of that fan base. I mean, they can be really ruthless. So anyways, Carlos Correa tripled in Minnesota's 6th and final run as they went easy. Both teams are now 13-10 on the season. Arizona and Kansas City faced off as Pavin Smith. He's been super clutch all season long. He comes up clutch another time with runners in scoring position. He showed up with that 2-run go-ahead single in the 3rd inning. The only problem is Arizona's pitching staff isn't the deepest or the greatest. If you aren't talking about Zach Gallen, they have a 4.8 ERA as a team, which is 23rd in all of baseball. They allow Kansas City to claw their way back into it. Now, fortunately, Arizona does have a top 8 run scoring offense, and madness ensued. Christian Walker, he sprinted home. He turned into Dash from the Incredibles. He scores the go-ahead run, and the Snakes pen, they close it out. And by the Snakes pen, I really just mean Andrew Chafin. He struck out 4 in an inning and 2/3 of work. Arizona, they escaped narrowly 5-4. Now, I do want to mention that for all of the bad press that Oakland gets, Kansas City now has the exact same record as the Oakland Athletics. Kansas City, they're second to last in OPS as an offense, and they're second to last in team ERA. They've been just as terrible. Now, because we just talked about the standings, we're going to go in and talk about the rest of them in just a second. Let's talk about the stat leaders. So in terms of batting average, Luis Ariz is still hitting above 400. You have Brandon Marsh, Matt Chapman, Ronald, and Nico rounding out the other top 5. Garrett Cole and a bunch of other guys are tied for 4 wins. You can see that it is basically dominated by guys in the AL. So you have Garrett Cole, Gibson, McClanahan, and Joe Ryan with Clint Kershaw at 4 wins. Home runs, Max Muncy is leading the pack with 11. Pete Alonso is the only other guy with double digits. ERA, Sonny Gray, like we mentioned, has a 0.62 ERA, just ahead of the unicorn Shohei Ohtani, Garrett Cole, Bryce Elder, Justin Steele. They've all been amazing as well. RBIs, Adolis Garcia popped off for 8 RBIs a few days ago in a single game, so he's at 28. Jordan, Randy, and Rafael Devers, along with Pete Alonso, they round out the other top 5. Saves, we have Jordan Romano and David Bednar, all tied with Josh Hader at 8 saves. Hits, we have Ronald at 34 hits. Then you have Nico Horner and Bryson Stott with 33 hits each. You have Bo Bichette and Luis Ariz rounding out the top 5. For strikeouts, Spencer Strider is back in the number 1 spot, reclaiming it over Jacob deGrom. So Spencer Strider nearly has 50 strikeouts already. Stolen bases, Ronald is by far ahead. He has 12. In second place, we have Cedric Mullins and Nico Horner tied with 9. And then if we're talking about quality starts, a quality start, if you don't remember, is just a starting pitcher going 6+ innings with 3 earned runs or less. So all of these guys, they've been pretty efficient. In terms of these standings, the Rays are by far the best team in baseball. They have won 6 in a row. They are 20-3, but shout out to the Orioles. they have won 7 in a row. They lead the Jays by 2.5 games, and then we have the Yankees at 13-10 and the Red Sox at 12-12 for the AL East. We have the Central. The Twins are ahead of the Guardians by 2 games. The Guardians have been playing not the best over the last few days, and then the rest of that division, we don't have to talk about them. In the American League West, we have the Rangers leading everyone. They are 2.5 games ahead of the Astros. The Rangers have outscored opponents by 59 runs in 2023. That is pretty crazy. Moving on over to the National League, the Braves are out in front by 1 game over the Mets. The Braves have outscored opponents by 35, whereas the Phillies, they're almost back to 500 after starting off super slow, so I expect them to just keep on winning. They have won 3 in a row. They're 7-3 in their last 10. In the Central, the Pirates are still in first place after winning 7 in a row, but I expect the Brewers to make some noise in the next few days. I mean, hopefully the Cardinals can get back into it as well. And shout out to the Cubs for being a little surprising to begin the year. They're 12-9. And then in the West, we have the Diamondbacks in first place, but every single team in the division took a W over the last few days. So everyone's on a win streak. The Diamondbacks are still ahead by a half game over the Dodgers, but there's the Padres. Yeah, they're 1 game back. We're going to go ahead and show the web gems in just a second, but that does it for me. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Remember, we post MLB recap every single day, so if you enjoyed, leave a like, stick around and join the team, hit that subscribe button, and enjoy the web gems.
High in the air, center field. Robert Jr. back at the wall. He leaps. Oh, he brought it back.
2-2 high fly. Verdugo on the move again. He's been very busy. Long run. Makes a sliding play on the ball. An outstanding play by Verdugo.
Barrero. Flip to India. Double play. And a big league play by Jose Barrero.
Ground ball up the middle. Great stop by Lau. He recovers. Throws to first.
Correa snags it. Rifles his throw across to Gallo. Good play. 23-year-old from Venezuela. Now he's going to try to get the bunt down. Barehanded by Bassett. And got him at first base.